Hey freshmen, Mrs. Roth here, and I'm just ready to walk you through lesson number 2 for the Lake Isle of Innisfree poem analysis. All right, so here we go. The first thing you're going to want to do here is figure out the logistics of being ready. So you're going to need to have the poem out so that you're able to annotate it, and you're also going to have the directions for what you need to do to annotate. So that's going to be a little tricky because we're all paperless this year and some of you aren't with me. So you're going to have to figure that out before you start. You want to make sure you get the poem into Notability and you've got it up on your iPad screen and you're ready to annotate. The other thing then is you need to make sure that you can hear me in these directions or see the directions. So you've got two options. You can have this video playing. It might work to have this video playing on your phone and then have your poem open on your iPad so you can kind of tag team it. Or you might want to try to use the split screen option, and I'll put a link to that tutorial in this assignment description too. If for some reason Notability isn't working yet on your iPad and you're having tech trouble, you can annotate on the piece of paper, so the one that you got in class, or you can print it at home if you're a distance learner, and you can get the annotations on paper and get me a picture of it since it's still early in the semester and we're wrinkling out details. Okay, so first, before we get rolling here, make sure you got that all worked out. Also know that I did make a PDF version of the directions of these annotations, and it's like instead of in slides and a video presentation, you could just follow along the directions in text if that seems easier to you. So you could also look for that version if you want to. Okay, so if you're ready to go, let's jump in and get started with reading and annotating the poem. The first thing that you do is a cold read. We did this the other day, but it's been a while, right? So what you might want to do here is pause the video and do a quick glance over the poem, a quick cold read again. Next is a warm read, and this is where you get yourself a little bit more ready to dig in and do something. It's important because it feels like a stretch, right? So it gets your brain ready to dig in and work with the poem. We did this the other day also, but we're going to do it again now. So I'll read it out loud for you. The Lake Isle of Innisfree. I will arise and go now and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, and a hive for the honey bee, and live aloud in the bee loud glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings. There midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for always night and day. I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. While I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's gray, I hear it in the deep heart's core. Okay, let's jump in. So the first thing that you're going to do when you annotate is you want to go ahead and number the lines of the poem. So write down the edge of the poem in the margin. You're going to put a number 1, a number 2, a number 3, a number 4, a number 5, a number 6, a number 7, a number 8, number 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so that's the first thing you do is number the lines. The other thing is you can take a moment here to just underline anything that seems important to you. If you started your annotation the other day on the poem, you might already have this done, but any initial markings that make sense to you, you can do that right away too. If you want, in addition to the steps I'm telling you out loud, I also tried to include the advanced steps here. The advanced steps are something that we should be able to do by the end of the semester. So if you're feeling like you're ready for a little extra challenge or you want to try something a little tougher, you can already look at these advanced chunks, but we'll be working our way towards them so that by the end of the semester, everybody's going to be doing the advanced option. Okay, so the advanced option for this first step is not only to number the lines, but also to chunk the sections of the poem and to summarize the chunks of the poem and note the purpose of the chunks of the poem. Okay. Next, you want to be thinking, what is this poem about? Like if I had to explain it, what is this poem about? And kind of that basic level, what the poem is about, really gets to the context of the poem. And a lot of times you can think about like the setting. If I were going to tell you what's taking place in this poem, what are the concrete things, that I would talk about? So you're going to take your yellow highlight tool and you are going to highlight any words or phrases that give you basic dramatic context. So your hint is to look for things like setting, or words that maybe don't indicate the setting itself, but they're clues about the setting. Okay, so kind of those physical basic context kind of stuff. And then the advanced option is not only finding them, but in the margin, noting what you can figure out based on these clues. Next is the green highlight, and green highlight is going to be anything that you know about the speaker. So the speaker is the person who's talking in the poem, and you're going to green highlight anything that you think might be a clue about the speaker. What is something that might give you some information about the speaker or help you make a guess about that speaker? You can start by looking for pronouns. That's the easy part. And then you look for other words that might give you an indication about something about that speaker. And the advanced option then is, again, in the margins, like once you find that thing about you're highlighting about the speaker, in the margin, you write your guess. What are you guessing? What can you claim? What do you know about the speaker? Blue is next. You want to think what attitude and feelings are in this poem. Okay, so you're going to go through the poem one more time. You're going to look for anything that indicates tone or mood. So your hint here is a lot of times imagery will get at that kind of tone, mood, feeling. And in this poem specifically, sound devices, that's another common tool for creating or establishing that tone or mood. Every author has their own tools, and you might be able to pick up on some other ones, but those two should get you started. The advanced option down here is not only labeling the tools, but once you've labeled them, go in the margins and tell me what type of tool is that. Is it consonants, or is it, onomatopoeia, or what is the tone that you found and how does it work, or how does it work to add feeling to this poem? So that's the advanced option. Next is going to be just thinking anything else about this poem that I know or I believe to be important. And so this gets back to the other day when we were doing some research. Maybe you looked up what a linnet is, or you looked up what a wattle is, right? And in the margin, you can kind of put that definition, because that might be important to your understanding of the poem, or to that how the poem works together. So note any descriptions or informations that you think was important to the text. And then the advanced option is not only marking it, but making that claim. What do you think the author is doing? Why did he say the word wattle, right? We don't say the word wattle today. What does that word tell you? Why did the author pick it? And you kind of start making those guesses in the margin. Final step is going to be synthesis. This is the main event. Okay, so synthesis number one. Eventually, we'll answer all of these questions, right? Today, you just have to answer one. What is the main idea or the theme of the poem? 2, what is the mood or the feelings, right, that the reader has when reading the poem? And number 3, what do you know about the speaker? Okay, so what you're going to do here is in Notability, I think you want to add yourself a second page, because your margins are already probably full by now, and you want to be able to have some room to write out your answer. You can either handwrite with your finger, or you can enter a text box, but you want to pick one of these, label it S1, because this is your first synthesis, and you're going to answer one of these questions. The advanced option is not only do you answer it, but you back it up with text evidence. And the text evidence is all that stuff you annotated. So if you want to go for it, go for it. But again, we'll be working towards that this semester. And then synthesis number 2, question number 2, this is about you connecting to the poem. So now that you've thought it through, now that you've had like kind of a chance to synthesize some of the ideas, how do you feel about it? How do you connect to it? What's going to be your personal takeaway? So you can pick one of these 3. The first one is, do you have any personal experiences that relate to this poem? The second question is, does it connect to the summer poem that you wrote for my class? And the third one is, what is your Innisfree? And that's going to be thinking about what is your place that is most relaxing or calm, or brings you peace, especially in troubled times, right? So the bonus here is to include a photograph. And I think especially if you tell me what your Innisfree is, right? Like my Innisfree is my garden. I love spending time out in my garden, outside in the quiet in the summer, especially at like twilight, right? So if I could include a picture of my garden, that would be a bonus for synthesis number 2. Okay, so making sure that you got everything done before you submit. Did you number the lines? Did you yellow highlight the context? Did you green highlight the speaker? Did you blue highlight the mood? Did you add in some extra notes in the margins? Did you add a synthesis 1 question? Did you add a synthesis 2 question? And if you did, you're ready to turn this assignment in. So you go to Schoology, turn in the Notability annotation assignment. You're turning it in from Notability to Schoology. If you have tech problems, message me. Be patient for my response. Remember, I'm teaching in class today also. So be patient as you wait for your response. But get it turned in, and I'm excited to take a look at your thoughts on the poem and how you marked it up. One more reminder to memorize this poem. Remember, you're all taking a memorization quiz next week. Good luck. And, if that idea stresses you out, just go to your Innisfree. In your mind, go to your Innisfree. All right. Thanks, freshmen.